In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw two different kinds of winter trees. The first tree that we're going to draw is like a pine tree or an evergreen tree. And for this one, we're just going to start with a vertical line. I'm just using a black marker here because we're going to be adding these trees in silhouette to our backgrounds. So I'm just starting with a vertical black line, and then I'm going to make the branches coming from this center trunk going out and sort of down, okay? So I'm going to start at the top with the narrowest. It's like I just drew an arrow. And then I'm going to come from inside of that and add these sort of swooping curved lines. Notice it's going to get thicker as I head towards the bottom. Again, I want to make sure that these look like branches. So I'm making sure that they have texture by angling my lines down and making them sort of like zigzaggy. I'm going to keep getting a little bit wider as I get to the bottom. All of my lines are working their way down, going in a downward motion until I get to the bottom. Now, if you were going to add a bunch of these pine trees, you would start by just making lines. It's okay if it's a little bit crooked, just like in nature. Not everything is going to be perfectly straight up and down. You can make a bunch of these lines at once. The trees that are further away are going to be a little bit shorter as you look at them using perspective. And I'm just going to overlap these tree neighbors, working my way down, making sure it gets a little bit wider as I head down. And I've got this one over here. This one I can make it a little sparser, make those branches a little bit further apart, maybe a little bit more zigzaggy. You could do the same thing that I'm doing here, but with a crayon, and it'll have a similar effect. Okay, so there's some evergreen trees, some pine trees, and on this side of my paper, I'm going to draw a tree that has its branches growing up. Like this would be like an oak tree or a maple tree. So I'm going to start with the trunk. And the nice thing about trees in the winter is that you can see all of their branches. Maybe I'll make a skinnier tree right here, a little bit shorter, and another one here. This trunk's a little bit bent. And then it's going to break off into the main arteries of the tree. These are those big branches. Kind of looks like a crooked letter Y. Make sure those branches kind of bend. And I'm starting with thicker branches, and you'll notice here I made another branch coming off of that main artery. And I can continue adding. These lines are moving up and diagonally, making some medium branches, and I can use the side of my marker to control the thickness of the lines. And then I can make smaller branches just by using the tip of the marker. So we went from large branches to medium branches to small branches, always moving up, away from the trunk, reaching for the sun. And I can make teeny tiny little branches that barely show up as well. Same thing on these, making those main arteries reach up like a crooked letter Y, adding some more main branches, some overlapping happening. Now I'm using like the tip of my marker. Those branches are getting smaller and smaller. If you can, look out a window check out the trees where you are, and you'll be able to see because all the leaves fell off. So it's really cool. And sometimes you can even spot a nest, like a squirrel's nest. At the ends of the branches, sometimes you'll see a wasp nest hanging off. Now, once you're happy with your practice trees, let me make another branch coming off down here, you can start thinking about how you're going to add them to your winter landscape. As you can see here, I decided to add a whole row at the bottom of those evergreen trees.